in just 43 seconds, $47 million in questionable contracts. Kash Patel didn't expect the ambush. He didn't see the documents. Cameras captured everything. The Senate chamber froze. What did Jasmine Crockett reveal that made Trump's FBI nominee crack under pressure? At exactly 2:17 p.m. on Tuesday, the Hart Senate office building buzzed with anticipation. News vans lined Constitution Avenue. Protesters held signs reading "Defend the FBI" and "Trump's loyalist must go." Inside the marble corridors, power brokers whispered about Patel's guaranteed confirmation. Kash Patel walked into the confirmation hearing like a man who had rehearsed every answer, every gesture, calculated for the cameras. His navy suit was pressed, his Trump loyalty pin gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights. Behind him trailed a team of Trump-appointed advisors, each carrying briefing books, thick with talking points. "This is just political theater," Patel had told Fox News that morning. "Democrats will grandstand, but my record speaks for itself. I've served this country with distinction." What Patel didn't know was that 3 FBI whistleblowers had secretly met with House Democrats over the weekend. What he couldn't have imagined was that his own encrypted communications had been legally obtained through a federal warrant. What would destroy him was his own overconfidence. Across the mahogany table sat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, invited as a special witness. She had arrived early, stacks of FBI financial records arranged methodically before her. Her expression was stone-cold professional, but her eyes held the intensity of someone who had discovered something explosive. Crockett had spent the previous week in a secure congressional facility, reviewing classified financial intelligence with Treasury Department devigators. The pattern they'd uncovered was breathtaking in its audacity. A systematic scheme to monetize FBI access through shell companies and consulting contracts. Jasmine, her chief of staff, had warned her that morning. "If you're wrong about this, your career is over. If you're right, you'll make history." She was right. "Mr. Patel," Crockett began, her voice cutting through the chamber's tension, "you've spoken extensively about your dedication to law enforcement integrity." Patel straightened in his chair, confident. "Absolutely, Congresswoman. My record speaks for itself." Pause. 3 seconds. Camera zooming. "Does it?" Crockett's eyebrow raised as she lifted a manila folder. "Because these FBI contractor payments tell a different story." The room's energy shifted instantly. Republican senators leaned forward. Democratic members exchanged knowing glances. CNN's cameras caught Patel's first micro-expression of concern, a barely perceptible tightening around his eyes. "I'm not sure what you're referring to," Patel replied, but his voice carried a new edge of uncertainty. Crockett opened the folder with theatrical precision. "Contract number FBI 2023-45891. A $47 million cybersecurity deal awarded to Patriot Defense Solutions. Ring any bells, Mr. Patel?" Silence. 4 seconds. Even the reporters stopped typing. Patel's face began to drain of color. "I wasn't directly involved in contracting decisions during my previous." "But you were involved with Patriot Defense Solutions, weren't you?" Crockett interrupted, her voice rising. "As a paid consultant, while simultaneously advising President Trump on FBI matters." The chamber erupted. Republican senators shouted objections. Democratic members called for order. But Crockett wasn't finished. "Let me read directly from your financial disclosure forms," she continued, pulling out a second document. "January 2024 through March 2024, $340,000 in consulting fees from Patriot Defense Solutions, the same company that magically received the largest FBI cybersecurity contract in agency history." Patel's hands began to tremble visibly. Sweat appeared on his forehead despite the air conditioning. Those were legitimate consulting services, unrelated to any federal contracting. Unrelated? Crockett's voice hit a new octave. You advised them on federal law enforcement, cybersecurity needs, while simultaneously being considered for FBI director. You're not serving law enforcement, Mr. Patel. You're putting on a loyalty show for your boss. Gasps rippled through the gallery. At exactly 2:18 p.m., 43 seconds after Crockett's initial question, something broke in Patel's composure. His carefully practiced demeanor cracked. His jaw clenched, his knuckles turned white, gripping the witness table. The timeline you're suggesting is... Patel stammered, for the first time unable to complete a sentence. The silence stretched like a guitar string about to snap. Every camera in the room focused on Patel's face, capturing the exact moment his political armor cracked. Republican Senator Josh Hawley attempted damage control. This is clearly a partisan attack. Senator Hawley, Crockett shot back, her voice cutting through the chamber like a scalpel. Are you defending potential corruption or just loyalty theater? The phrase loyalty theater instantly became a trending hashtag. Within minutes, loyalty theater exploded across social media. Cable news networks broke into regular programming. Fox News anchors struggled to spin the developing story. Senator Chuck Grassley, the committee's ranking Republican, looked visibly shaken. He had privately assured colleagues that Patel's vetting was thorough. Now, live on television, that assurance was crumbling. But Crockett had prepared for Republican pushback. She turned to a large monitor behind her. "Let me show you something, Mr. Patel," she said, pressing a remote control. "This is a timeline compiled by the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network." The screen displayed a detailed flowchart showing money transfers between Patriot Defense Solutions, 3 shell companies, and an account labeled K. Patel Consulting LL. January 12, 2024, Crockett read from the chart. You register K. Patel Consulting with Delaware's Division of Corporations. January 15th, you have lunch with Marcus Webb, CEO of Patriot Defense. January 18th, Patriot Defense wires $85,000 to your consulting account. Patel's lawyer frantically scribbled notes, whispering urgently in his client's ear. January 22nd, Crockett continued, her voice gaining momentum like a prosecutor closing an argument. You attend a private dinner at Mar-a-Lago where FBI director selection is discussed. January 25th, another $85,000 wire from Patriot Defense. Shall I continue, Mr. Patel? The chamber had gone so quiet that the hum of C-SPAN's cameras became audible. Democratic senators sat transfixed. Republican members exchanged worried glances. Those payments were for legitimate consulting work, Patel finally managed, his voice barely above a whisper. Consulting on what, exactly? Crockett demanded. Your invoices, which we've obtained, list only strategic federal law enforcement advisory services. Can you elaborate on what those services entailed? Pause, 7 seconds. Patel's mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping for air. Crockett wasn't done. She pulled out a third document, an encrypted USB drive. This drive contains email communications between Mr. Patel and Patriot Defense executives, communications that occurred during his vetting process for FBI director. She held up the drive like evidence in a murder trial. Should I read them aloud, Mr. Patel, or would you like to explain them yourself? Patel's face went completely white. His political career was unraveling in real time, broadcast live to millions of Americans. Those communications were, he began, then stopped. I need to consult with my attorney. The words hung in the air like a confession. In confirmation hearings, invoking legal counsel is political suicide. Senator Dick Durbin leaned into his microphone. Mr. Patel, this committee has a right to know. Did you use your anticipated position as FBI director to personally profit from federal contracts? Complete silence. 6 seconds. Even the chamber's ventilation system seemed to pause. I exercised legitimate business opportunities within appropriate ethical boundaries, Patel finally whispered. It was over. Everyone in the room knew it. The carefully orchestrated confirmation had become a public execution. Within 30 minutes, Patel exposed was trending nationally. CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin called it the fastest confirmation collapse in Senate history. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow dedicated her entire evening show to what she termed the loyalty industrial complex. By 6 p.m., 3 Republican senators had privately indicated they couldn't support Patel's nomination. By midnight, that number had grown to 7, more than enough to sink his confirmation. Behind closed doors, Senate Republican leadership held an emergency conference call. "This is a disaster," one senior aide was overheard telling reporters. "We can't defend this. The financial documents are ironclad." Trump, furious at the day's developments, launched a Twitter tirade from his Truth Social platform. Crooked Jasmine Crockett destroyed a great patriot with fake documents. Total witch hunt. Kash Patel is innocent. The swamp is fighting back. But Trump's social media fury only amplified the story. Late-night comedians seized on his misspellings and grammatical errors. Saturday Night Live prepared an emergency sketch. The View dedicated their entire Friday show to what Joy Behar called the most satisfying political takedown since Watergate. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow dedicated not just her evening show, but her entire week to what she termed the loyalty industrial complex. Her Monday episode drew 4.2 million viewers, the highest-rated cable news program of the month. Meanwhile, Crockett's congressional office was flooded with interview requests. 60 Minutes. Face the Nation. Meet the Press. Every major network wanted the woman who had single-handedly destroyed Trump's FBI nominee. "She's become the Democratic Party's new star," CNN's Jake Tapper observed. In less than an hour, Jasmine Crockett went from backbench House member to potential presidential candidate. The political ramifications extended to state Democratic candidates across the country began using footage from Crockett's interrogation in campaign ads. "This is what accountability looks like," became a rallying cry for candidates from school board races to gubernatorial campaigns. Fox News struggled to contain the damage. Tucker Carlson devoted 3 consecutive shows to attacking Crockett's credibility, but even conservative viewers seemed unconvinced. Social media engagement data showed Fox losing audience share to CNN and MSNBC for the first time in years. Conservative commentator Ben Shapiro, typically a Trump defender, acknowledged the severity of Patel's exposure. "Facts don't care about your feelings, and these financial records are devastating. This isn't partisan persecution. This is potential corruption." 2 weeks later, Patel withdrew his nomination in a terse statement released at 11 p.m. on a Friday feed, hoping to bury the news cycle. His consulting firm lost its major clients within 48 hours. His media appearances dried up overnight. His political future, once golden, was finished. The fallout extended far beyond Patel himself. 3 Trump advisors who had recommended him faced their own congressional subpoenas. Patriot Defense Solutions lost its FBI contract and faced a Justice Department investigation. The company's stock price plummeted 67% in a single trading session. Senator Grassley, humiliated by the confirmation collapse, quietly retired his committee leadership ambitions. Republican senators privately fumed that Trump's vetting process had exposed them to national embarrassment. But perhaps most significantly, Crockett's performance established her as a new force in Democratic politics. Donations poured into her political action committee. Speaking invitations flooded her office. Cable news bookers fought for her appearances. What we witnessed wasn't just a confirmation hearing. wrote Washington Post columnist Karen Tumulty. It was a masterclass in preparation meeting opportunity. Crockett didn't just expose corruption. She demonstrated how accountability works when institutions function properly. During a follow-up interview with Anderson Cooper, Crockett reflected on that pivotal moment. Sometimes the truth hits like lightning. 43 seconds was all it took to show America the difference between law enforcement and loyalty enforcement. Cooper leaned forward. "Do you think this changes how confirmation hearings will be conducted in the future?" "It should," Crockett replied. "When nominees know that financial records will be scrutinized, that encrypted communications can be obtained legally, that loyalty to truth matters more than loyalty to any individual, maybe we'll get better nominees." The Patel confirmation collapse became a case study at Georgetown Law School's ethics program and Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. Professor Lawrence Tribe called it constitutional democracy's immune system responding to infection. 6 months later, a federal grand jury indicted Marcus Webb and 2 Patriot defense executives on conspiracy and fraud charges. Patel, having cooperated with prosecutors, avoided criminal charges but was banned from federal contracting for 10 years. The FBI, meanwhile, implemented new ethical guidelines for senior officials considering private sector opportunities. Director Wray, who had remained notably silent during Patel's confirmation battle, praised the reforms as essential for maintaining public trust. In a city built on connections and favors, Jasmine Crockett had proven that documents and evidence still matter more than political theater. Sometimes the strongest weapon isn't a badge or a subpoena. It's truth, archived and revealed at exactly the right second. What happens when a nominee built his career on loyalty theater meets a prosecutor armed with financial records? If patriotism can't survive transparency, was it ever